Okay, so Pastor Jon Hales from Christchurch, great to see you today.
Thank you, Darren. Good to be here.
Yeah, and really excited about what you're going to be sharing around MDNA, the journey down in Canterbury and Christchurch, but also within your local church with a particular focus around APEST. So I'm just going to hand over to you.
All right. Thank you, Darren. I'm particularly excited about the MDNA journey. So we met with yourself and Pastor Joseph in March the 14th and 15th. That was excellent for us as our leadership region group and church group to lay a foundation. That was crucial, got us on the same page, got us thinking the right things. And since then, I've had a meeting with the local church MDNA group. That's been outstanding. And then after that, I'm going to have a meeting with the regional MDNA group because I want to use the church group as a test drive to tweak things, get things better for the regional group when I talk about APEST with the region, because I'm aware that when I meet it with the region, it's going to go out to the churches in the region. So that's where I'm at the moment. So I'm just looking forward to the journey, and it's a long journey, but the thing that was in my heart right from the get-go with the church group and the regional group is we're on this journey together. I'm going to keep this MDNA front and center until Jesus returns. There's no deviation. The other thing is this, with the church group, I said to them in the first meeting right from the get-go, you are chosen by God to be a part of this group. You are going to have this church has got a blank canvas to rebuild the culture of this church, and you are basically chosen by God for such a time as this. Wow. And you have an appropriate voice around the table to help not only discover the MDNA and APEST principles, but to develop them in the culture of the church. So I said, we're going to discover them together, and we're going to develop them together. Discover together, develop together, and then we're going to hold each other accountable together.
Wow.
So we're on this journey together, and tonight we're going to discover APEST, and then after we discover APEST, we're going to develop APEST in the culture of the church over the next few months, and then we're going to hold each other accountable. Then we're going to move on to discipleship. We're going to discover together our discipleship. This is what discipleship is in our church, and this is what it should be. So we're going to discover the gap, and then we're going to develop it together. And I could just see them go. I could see them a lot of things happening in that meeting. I don't have time to explain everything right here, but I could just see a lot happening even in that first opening comment, and we discussed it together, APEST as a church group, and a lot of dynamics going on there. And I could unpack those at some stage in the discussion maybe, but it was just gold. It was really gold for me in the church group to see that they were discovering APEST. They weren't being told it. They were discovering it for themselves, and they really got it, how it operated. And then now that they've really got it, they will now help to develop into the culture of the church and have ownership and buy-in at an appropriate level. So that was exciting. And I'm excited I haven't yet had a meeting with the region, but I'm going to next month with the regional MDNA group, which is again, that same principle of discover together, develop together in your own churches, and then hold each other accountable with the process. So it's exciting.
Wow. That is very, very cool, Jon. I have to say that when Joseph and I came down and we had our sort of day in a bit with you guys, you've got a great leadership team, and there was just they were buzzing around APEST. It was really cool to see. I'd love to hear, and I really love this mantra: discover, develop, hold accountable. I was just thinking, if you'd made that first discover into an M word, you would have had MDNA. No, not quite there. But anyway, it's just great, Jon. I'd love to hear more about this discover phase that you've gone through with the leaders in your own church.
Yeah. So first of all, with the group that we chose. Just I'll say it while I think of it. Rachel and I, my wife Rachel, we really prayed about, Lord, show us who is the MDNA group that you want for Riverside Church. Lord, show us who they are. So out of the leadership group of the church, we didn't just say, hey, everybody in the leadership group, you're now MDNA group. We had a number that we felt the Lord was saying is for the MDNA pathway journey. They were the people that are submitted, committed, love the church, love the kingdom, but also believe for more at Riverside. Also, there's a mix of old and young and also new leaders. So we chose new leaders, leaders that we know are going to carry this thing into the next season of the church, and leaders that we know are going to carry it after we've gone. So we've chosen some really new leaders, but we can see the potential in them. We can see they're going to develop into these things. So that's the mix that we chose. It felt a little bit like Jesus choosing his apostles, like to develop them and after he's gone. That's how it felt. So with the discovery process in the APEST, we had the meeting on the 30th of April, and I did what we did in Wellington and at Vaughan Park. I broke them into their gifting groups. Luckily we had enough people to have people in A's, people in P's, people in E's, people in S and T's, and we had at least 2 people in each group. And I presented before them 2 church scenarios, and I said, in your gifting mix groups, solve those problems. So they said when they did that, it was enjoyable. It was easy with the apostolic people together. It was easy with the teachers together. It was easy with the shepherd-hearted people together. They found it easy and enjoyable, but they said it was dangerous. And it's easy, but it's dangerous because what they ended up was the mentality that this is the answer. And everybody else is wrong. So that was easy but dangerous. And I got them to then mix the groups. Like we had 2 groups, one group with an apostle, one with the evangelist, shepherd, teacher, etc. And so we split into 2 groups, presented 2 different scenarios, solved those problems. They discovered that it was difficult but better. The first one was easy but dangerous. The second time it was difficult to discuss it. It was awkward, and it was difficult because there was different perspectives. Like, you're not seeing it the same as I am. You're seeing it. I never thought about that from that point of view for this,
Yeah.
So they discovered that even though it was more challenging, it was actually better, and they got a more balanced answer than when they were in just all teachers together. And I know they all discovered that when they were in their own groups, this is the discovery part. When they discovered these things, it's gold to watch.
Yeah.
They discovered that when they were in their own groups, even though it was easy and nice, they the prophetic people subtly saw that the shepherding people are all touchy-feely, what's wrong with them? And the prophetic people thought, well, you just got to obey God. And if there's either obey God or you're disobeying God, and if you're disobeying God, get cast out of the church, sort of thing. But they thought that they were so right and everybody else was weird. And so you could see them after they've been in mixed groups that, hang on, this is actually more awkward, but it's actually better, and we get a more balanced approach. And what that caused them to realize was that those other people sitting across the other side of the room aren't wrong and weird. They actually and it got them to appreciate the different gifts that they add to the table and bring, and it got them to appreciate that. It got them to understand themselves, but it also got them, this is the key, it also got them to realize that when we're operating together, then we have oneness in the body of Christ, then we have unity, and when we have oneness, then spiritual things are birthed. So
Wow.
the oneness and then we have true fellowship, even though it's more, and it causes you to have to walk in love. And the funny thing was that even though the mixed groups were more awkward, they preferred them.
Wow.
Because they could suddenly see the danger of easy and narrow focus, like teachers are like, they just got to taught the doctrine, and that's the only answer, and everybody else is a bit weird, and the shepherds are touchy-feely, but then it changed to be like, no, you're not weird. I actually really appreciate you, and now I really appreciate me. So it was awesome to see them discover all these things and the lights go on and really get it. Now that we've discovered it, then we moved together. At the end of the meeting, I asked them two questions, and the two questions shifted into the develop into the culture and embed it into the culture of the church mode. And the two questions were, how do we get APEST embedded into the culture of Riverside? When APEST is embedded into the culture of Riverside, what will it feel like? How will we know? So that's the development side. But you asked about discovery, and it was just, like I say, really gold for them to discover APEST and not be told it.
Yeah, John, what do you? I mean, this is gold, bro. What are you discovering as a senior pastor, as a senior leader through this?
A lot. I I'm discovering. See, I discovered first of all, I discovered that my leadership style. I defaulted in my leadership style in the past was to just tell them. Was and not to and it didn't produce a much engagement, ownership, etc. So obviously I think that's a fault of probably most pastors. So my leadership style was wrong. But also I discovered through this process that when I shared with the group, I said, guys, I'm a TE. I'm a TE. So what that did, it says, hey, I don't have all the answers in me. And I could notice in that meeting that they stopped looking at me with that dependence as if like you've got all the answers, we're dependent on you. And the discovery, this is another discovery. The discovery was, oh my gosh, we work together to help build the culture of this church. It's not all on John. And it went like this, Darren, like if I can put it really honestly, like it felt like that you come down, it's a great leveler. And it's really good because it causes, and it's a leveler. The gospel is a leveler because we're all sinners saved by grace, but this is a leveler in leadership. I could sense them going, I really do have a voice around the table because John's a TE, and we've just experienced APES, so he's going to see it through that lens. So he needs us. And, we need him, and so it was actually that was the biggest discovery for me. Like those two things, my leadership style, and my leadership style has been changing a lot in the last year or two, but this is just putting it on steroids.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
This you've talked a lot about building the culture, and which we all know, culture is ultimately the thing that really determines the outcomes of where the church is going. Can you give me a bit more where your thinking's at in relation to APEST and how that's developing?
Within our church?
Yeah, within your church context,
How it's developing. To be honest, we haven't really got going. But what I've noticed is this: since the meeting with you and Joseph, the ones who attended, instant change.
Wow.
I noticed their language was different. They started to see their leadership style differently. Like the MD&A group are still in the journey of discovery for themselves. And so since we had the meeting on the 30th of April, I asked them those questions, how we're going to embed it in the culture of the church. I said, look, when we get together in 3 months' time, because we agreed that we're going to meet every 3 months, that's enough for us. And I said, look, your homework is to observe your leadership style, observe how you perceive your teams, and then report back. So I think, how is it getting embedded into the culture of the church? I think changed people change people. So it's still APEST is still in the process of the MD&A group really being changed and fully owning it and then practicing it. But what we agreed upon was that to build it into the culture of Riverside, of course, we need to have some sermons about it, right? And then also followed up with discussions and studies in life groups and small groups Right. And also I said to them that with the life groups and the discussions, I will give them an appropriate voice into how those studies look, just and give them a heads up so that they feel involved in the process appropriately. So we've agreed that that's how we're going to start in building it into the culture. And I know that when those sermons do come, that they'll be listening, sort of leaning forward on their chairs, listening to every word,
Yeah.
which I'm really interested to see and to see that and unfold.
Yeah. No, that's cool because I mean, as we talked about, leaders carry culture.
Yeah, that's it.
And so the fact that they're shifting and changing their own minds, hearts, and feeling more, because what I heard, John, when you talked about the leveling, is
Mm,
essentially you're empowering them.
yes,
So now the empowerment is not just in the senior pastor, that you've actually shared that empowerment to
yes,
a broader group.
yes, that's right. And they felt empowered. And I've never been in a leaders meeting where I did less talking and they did most of the talking,
Wow.
but they were empowered. And I think there was a determination at the very beginning of all this that that's how I'm gonna lead, because I could see that my leadership in the past was wrong, wasn't quite right. Um, and you're right, it's empowering.
Mm.
It's leveling and it's empowering, and it just feels right. So that's what I think we're all discovering. That's
Cool.
another, yeah.
Another discovery. Hey, so you use the word accountability, and it's a word I love, because I think it's just such an important part of our walk with Christ. So how's that starting to play out, or how are you thinking about it? Yeah,
Um, I haven't actually given it a whole lot of thought, to be honest.
yeah,
Um, but I just know that uh, when we meet together as an MDNA group in July,
mm,
then whatever we've put in place, I will make room in the meeting to say, okay, we've had some sermons about APES. How's it really going, guys? What are your
mm,
honest thoughts? I'm going to make room like for accountability,
yeah,
but also in the one-to-one meetings that I have with them,
yes,
if they're life group leaders or their music team leaders or whatever. Um, accountability does go both ways.
mm,
So I'm holding them accountable within their team. What are you doing to
mm,
bring and I think the key that is language, like
yes,
you've mentioned it and the executive have mentioned that language around this
mm,
is really helpful. So it's the one-on-one meetings with them
mm,
and the group meetings and just making room. And I think also expectations is important. Like
mm,
like this is the expectation is that we are going to hold each other accountable.
yeah, yeah.
Like, and I am going to keep it front and center. And I will be, my deep desire is to build momentum,
Wow.
is to not let go, because momentum, as they say, is leader's best friend. But
Yeah.
like, so it's keeping it front and center, keeping it interesting and keeping it, yeah,
Mm.
keeping it
That's great. That's
appropriately
great.
live.
Momentum, hard won, easy lost, and
Yeah,
as you say,
right.
the leader's great friend, and ultimately that which separates those who are actually making ground on the mission, and those who aren't. So that's cool. That's very cool, John. So firstly, I just want to say, hey, thank you so much for sharing
Sure.
your story. It's very incredibly encouraging. What would be, for a pastor who's starting to think about how they might implement? I mean, you've kind of given a bunch of clues on the way, but if you were to sort of crystallize a little bit of advice for a pastor who's starting to think about, okay, I want to go a bit further down this APS track, what might be some of the things that you might share with them? Maybe some of the things to focus on, maybe some of the things to try and avoid, if there's any there.
Make sure you get it for yourself. Like passion persuades. And if you have a conviction that this is really good for the church, we've got to have this, like operating, not just intellectually, but there's something about getting it for yourself personally that you've got to experience it and then get others to experience it. And so um, I mean, with that group that we met, doing the survey was crucial. I think there's something about each and every one doing the survey, because first and foremost, we're quite self-centered and we all like to we all giggle and laugh about our own APEST, but then that's the starting point. So the effectiveness of that meeting was that I emailed everybody and said, 6 weeks before the meeting, you've got to do that. So I believe whatever group you're working with, if you're serious about it, I think they've got to do the survey, and then that's the start point. You go from there, and your language, even in conversations in the cafe, and you're just reinforcing it, and even from the pulpit as well, just as all that stuff.
That's awesome, John. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate what you've shared, and I know it's going to be very helpful to many. So thank you.